It is a kindness to look into someone's eyes and truly see them, to take the time to care enough to see them. 22 years ago, I was a nursing student assigned my very own patient for the first time. I was trembling, longing to help, longing to change the world, of course, and there I was with the opportunity to finally do it. I had trained and prepared for this moment, but I didn't feel ready. And I don't think I ever would have. I think the truth is we're rarely ready for the moments that change our lives forever. The head nurse walked me down a long, bleak corridor to my patient's room, and she said, "Don't waste too much time on this one. She's long gone. She can't understand a word you say, so just get your work done quickly and go help someone else." Mary had end-stage dementia, and she'd been non-responsive for nearly a year. I walked into the room, took a deep breath. She was in the fetal position, and she looked so frail. Tears welled up in my eyes as I imagined who this woman might be. Somebody's mother, grandmother, wife, daughter, friend, maybe even somebody's everything lying there, halfway down the bed, curled up and silent. They told me she couldn't understand me, but I still introduced myself. It didn't seem right not to talk to her, not to treat her like a human being with the same respect and warmth that I would want if I were her. I reached for her hand and it was ice cold. I got her an extra blanket so she'd be warm. I gently rubbed her back, and I noticed all of the art hung by her bedside, so lovingly drawn. I tried to feed her and she clenched her jaw shut. I tried to hold her hands, but her hands were curled tightly into fists that I could not open. It felt impossible to try to care for her, to feed her, to bathe her, to change her, to move her. I walked into her room each morning, opened the curtains, touched her hand warmly, and said, "Good morning, Mary." Naturally, I ignored the advice to just do my job quickly and go help someone else. Instead, I sat at the bed for hours and rubbed her feet while telling her stories, as though she could understand every single word I said. A few days in, I tried to feed her again, anticipating her resistance, but for the first time, she opened her mouth and she ate. A few days later, I caught her looking deeply into my eyes. A few days later, as I tried to sit her up, she reached over and quickly and firmly grabbed my hand. I stopped. I looked at her and tears ran down her face. This non-responsive woman, this mother, this grandmother, this wife, this daughter, this friend, this patient not worth spending time on, was responding to kindness. Weeks later, I walked onto the ward a little later than normal. I went to Mary's room and she wasn't there. My heart sunk. I thought she was gone, but then in the sunroom next door, I saw her sitting up in a chair with her husband and her son by her side. Her eyes were beaming. My heart lit up as I said, "Good morning, Mary," like I had every single shift for weeks, and she looked right at me, smiled, and said, "Good morning." Her husband began to sob. Her son was shaking, hugging her, thanking me over and over. End-stage dementia has no cure. It does not reverse, except that for Mary, it did. The doctor said the diagnosis must have been a mistake. Kindness is the embodiment of love, and it makes us come alive. Now, more than ever, our most vulnerable, those we have been told to ignore, need our kindness. And we ask ourselves, how do we create a kinder world? How do we raise kinder children? Let's start here. Because how we are to our most vulnerable is the fate of us all. Let us fill ourselves with kindness first, because we cannot give what we don't have. Let us overflow that kindness into the world, into the hearts of the people who need us. No matter what their age, their race, their status, their class, their past, they are ours and we are theirs. And kindness is where we meet to change the world together.